Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? It is Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan for an Inside the Birds that's presented by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. Adam, as I like to say, tis the season. Tis the season for mandatory minicamp and for the Eagles. And with that comes a whole lot of chatter, a whole lot of talk. I've already been listening to way too much sports talk this week and all of the outlandish things that are said about who's making the team, who's not making the team, because because we as reporters get to watch two practices. It's gotten out of control, but the good thing is mandatory minicamp is good. Everybody's there, and it gives us a chance to discuss what we've heard, and there are some things that stand out that I think are really relevant that I'll have fun going back and forth with you on. And I don't know, we might want to talk about the cornerback situation. We had a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
of debate
Oh
the
yeah.
other night. We might want to bring it to the public here
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and just get a little crowdsource on it and see what it's like.
Oh yeah. In fact, it's funny. So Andrew DeCecco and I talked Wednesday, and I didn't realize you guys were texting. So, or phone, I think he said texting anyway.
Uh,
So he and I see it the same way, the cornerback position.
yep.
You don't, is that correct? Just to be clear.
Yes, I will. I have a really hard time
Yeah.
seeing. I mean,
Oh,
we'll talk about it in the podcast, but
yeah.
you guys think that for the second straight year, the Eagles will definitely keep seven cornerbacks. And I'm thinking with last year, I think they had to do out of necessity with really no established backups. This year,
Yeah.
you've got a first and a second round pick at that position, and I don't know if there's room to do what they want to do and keep seven corners, but I can be convinced otherwise. We'll see.
And we're not. See, we didn't discuss trades. We're just saying on the surface, how many would they keep as is? And right. So, and by the way, they initially kept 70 tackles at seven corners. How's that possible?
They went very light at other positions that I'm not sure
Apparently.
they'll be able to go
Yeah.
light at this year. So
Right.
we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. So a lot of stuff going on. Andrew DeCecco, we just mentioned him. He's been doing a great job of covering the early days of training camp for InsideTheBirds.com. I'm sorry, minicamp on InsideTheBirds.com. So make sure you check out his observation stories from day one and day two. The last day three is today, and depending on whether you listen to this, I've heard weather may interfere, so
Yep.
we'll see. And if it does, then to be honest with you, and I think you feel the same way, Adam, when they go inside, it totally
The
changes
worst.
the whole
Yeah.
specter of practice. It's not the same. It's usually shorter. Some guys don't
Yep.
even want to practice on that turf if they have knee issues. So if that were to be the case, that's too bad.
So they moved it up from 1:30 to 12 to accommodate what you're talking about the weather, because
Yeah.
there's like scattered storms in a couple hours here. So I'll be there. I look forward to going. But as you said, it's I've had this meniscus issue for like 15 years or something. The doctor said I didn't have it repaired.
Hmm.
I mean, I play tennis 3 or 4 days a week. It doesn't bother me at all. It just clicks every once in a while. But anyway, I remember one year I was so sore I couldn't stay in there. I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't stand on this damn turf. As you were
Hmm.
talking about, it's so damn hard. It's like if they what was there wood underneath the vet under the AstroTurf? I don't know
Yeah.
what's under this thing. Totally concrete. It has to be.
I was just about to say, I think asphalt.
What's that?
I was gonna joke. I think it's asphalt.
Asphalt.
underneath.
Right. Yeah. I thought you said that. But so anyway, I'm gonna ask them if they replaced it, because I know they've done some changes. I know that some things have changed inside the practice bubble, but I wonder if they've softened it up. I'll if we have to go there, if we're going to be indoors today, obviously I'll test it and then I'll ask and see if anybody knows. But anyway, yeah. So today's the last practice. I know some teams sometimes they bag it and go to Top Golf or bowling. I hope they don't do that. That'll suck if we come down there. They do that.
Yeah.
Or well, they'll let us know hopefully if they're going to do that. It doesn't seem they're planning to do that, because they're planning to have a practice. As the update is on Wednesday that they moved it up because of the weather. So we'll see what happens. But it's been interesting. This is year 25 of me going to these things. Oh, I do want to add, as we set this up, and John T. Filippo told me this earlier this week. There's absolutely no difference from OTAs and the mandatory camp and planning. He goes, it's exactly the same thing. It's just that the players have to be there where the other guys don't. They're going in and out, and OTAs. You just have to be there. The only thing I would add to that, there are more 11 on 11s than you don't
Yes.
see really any 11 11s in OTAs, but you see a little bit, 5 minutes in each practice of 11 11.
Yeah, no, that is probably the biggest change. Yeah, that you actually see team drills, which
Yeah.
is good. That's always the fun
Yeah.
part to watch. Also fun tonight at 8 o'clock on Discord will be Adam's weekly chat that he does on Discord. So make sure you're checking that out. We want to welcome, that's all, of course, for Patreon members, and we want to welcome Chris and welcome back Rich, who renewed. So they'll have an opportunity to ask Adam some questions and get his observations on the final mini camp or just anything
Yeah.
involving
Oh yeah.
the
We
mini
get into
camps.
it, man. These guys are smart. We get into the weeds, and yeah, it's stuff that we don't normally talk about here. And we again, because we have more time, and there's just certain things that we get into. It's interesting.
Hmm.
Do want to say before we get into the practice, going inside practice and so forth. And Ryan Silverfield was so phenomenal. I don't, for those of you who've heard it, you've heard this interview already on Patreon. But his information on Bryce Huff was phenomenal because he was before Ryan got no. Ryan was actually, was it, what did he say? Was it his first year as head
Hmm.
coach, or was this last year as the O line coach? Bryce's first
That
year
that
last
that
year.
Huff was there. It was his
Yeah.
last year. Well, he became the head coach for the bowl game against
Ah,
Penn State, actually,
right.
that year. But yeah, yeah. So he was the O line coach. His O line were basically going up against Bryce Huff
Exactly.
every day in practice. So he got a really
Just
good view of
right.
him.
Exactly. That view, he went into that. That was phenomenal. Talked to DiFilippo this week. John's going to come on soon because his season just ended in the UFL as their head coach. They're going to have the first pick overall, by the way, in the
Oh,
draft next
does
year.
that mean they had a rough year? I didn't
Well,
pay
it
attention.
did, but they won the bottom of the end ball, and they won it. They had a rough season with their quarterbacks, but they have the first overall pick, so that we'll see who they get. But he's going to talk about going inside, preparing for OTAs, what you should look for, what's real and what's not, preparing what happens leading up to training camp. Will get us ready for training camp. Also talked to former Eagles president Joe Banner. Joe said he wants to come on right before training camp opens to go inside it of what it's like from his standpoint. Because remember, he oversaw everything.
Hmm.
So he goes, doing it now, there's not a lot of juice to talk about it because he's not a coach.
Right.
And Joe has a ton of information because he watched all the Eagles coaching tape. Despite what people think, he's actually a film junkie. This is the biggest shock to me when I worked with him at ESPN. I didn't know that about him. He's super into tape. He's not just a data guy. That you don't. People have this idea about him, which we're going to talk when Geoff and I talked to him late July, probably third week of July. You'll be stunned at some of the stuff he was pretty. He saw some stuff I had not heard before, and I'm wondering, did someone put this in his ear, or is it just him seeing it? He claims it's all him, but I want to kind of query him on a lot of the things he told me. So it's kind of fascinating. And then we got a couple other surprises coming, which this is the time of year Geoff and I have more time to call people. So you never know who's not going to hang up on us. So it's kind of interesting.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Joe nailed it, by the way, last year when he was on with us. Right? I
What did
mean,
he say?
Joe came on with us for our Patreon members the same time, like right at the end of camp, and he said, "Look, I think the Eagles are a talented roster. His biggest concern was the aging, and some of the guys kind of falling off because of their age, and we saw that with a decent number of guys. So,
Yep.
good stuff there. So yeah, to get in, you got to get in on patreon.com/inside the birds, become a member and get all the great benefits of signing up. All right. Obviously the, the Eagles made an interesting move because it was a move that Adam, you and I sort of foresaw coming. We'll talk about that in a second. First, we're going to pause and hear from our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
All right. So in the last podcast, we talked about depth on the offensive line. And we said, man, if there's one spot that we still think the Eagles are going to make a move before the season starts, right? It would be to get themselves some right guard depth, because Tyler Steen is the guy they want to win the job. Mekhi Becton is going to try some guard. He's never played there. We mentioned Matt Hennessy has actually never played in the NFL right guard. And we just thought that they needed that Steph Wisniewski, that veteran, that someone who started games. And then lo and behold, the day that pod comes out, they agree to terms and sign Max Scharping, who played both with the Texans and the Bengals. And I think it was a second round pick of the Texans, correct?
He was 2019. So I talked to a buddy in Pro Personnel, gave me some good stuff. In his career, including playoffs with the Texans and Bengals, 24 starts at left guard, 14 at right guard. He also played center last preseason, and he also practiced in the preseason in training camp, obviously. But he got snaps at center. I had no idea. Here's another note, which because you don't think of a guard because he's a power guy. He actually played mostly tackle in college in Northern Illinois. He played right and left tackle. Also, 1 year played right guard. So there you go on your point about Tyler Steen, the Eagles' probable, actually between probable and questionable starting right guard. Like when I say that, he's not injured. You know what I mean? But it's like highly probable. It's just no, he should be the right guard, but it's not a lock.
No, not at all.
Yeah. We learned last year what he never even got a chance to compete for it, but. They've got a contingency plan, obviously. They're Max Sharp, not that Max Sharping is it, he only did third team, but I do wonder, and you had that great nugget, really like our first pod after Becton signed, you'd said he's going to be cross-trained at guard, and I was like, really? I don't think he's ever played it. And lo and behold, Lane Johnson broke the news that he did.
Yeah.
He did it OTAs. And my goodness, folks, wait till you hear this stuff.
No. First of all, we broke the news. Lane confirmed it. All right.
Yeah.
You credit where it's due. We broke that news. But
no,
I only say that because you told me. I know I'm being
facetious.
facetious. I'm being facetious. I only said that because you told me. I didn't even know this. That after we reported that, some people were like, "You guys don't know what you're talking about," or
yeah, we got some crap on Twitter. Yeah, I got it.
Well, guess what? We knew what we were talking about.
Okay. That was a stunner. But can I ask you a question? I'd never question your sources, but do you recall when you got that information?
Yes. The day that the Eagles signed him. I just did some homework on it. Oh.
No. But do you recall like what the thought process of why he could play guard? Or they thought he could like that. I never heard anyone say that.
You know what? I think I remember asking, is this a stout idea? I don't know if I ever got anything other than this is what we're going to try to do. I think that the idea was they didn't really. I mean, they had Fred Johnson as a backup tackle already. Kennard has played tackle, even though they're playing him at guard. I think that we talked about it. They were looking for someone to play guard, and at his size and with his ability. And his athleticism and his weight being down, if he can't play tackle, but he can be anything near what he was when he was a first rounder, it would make sense to try him out then to see if he can play guard, especially with the uncertainty.
Well, remember now, Vaitai, who no one thought could play guard, wound up making $10 million a year and playing guard for the Lions. Todd Hermans, remember, was the left tackle at Saginaw State. Remember talking to Todd about this when he was asked to lose weight, then gain weight?
Oh, God, yeah.
And Todd he actually was able to extend his career to play inside a guard. I mean, it's really so this one. I was flummoxed when you told me this. You go, hey, we're going to talk about this tonight, or to whatever it was when we taped the show. That Becton's going to play. They're going to cross train him. Like I didn't doubt him. I'm like, what? Becton, really? Well, there you go. Thank you, Lane, for confirming it for us.
Yes. Yeah.
And my hair was on fire. I just assumed it'd be third team. When I see him lining up, I'm like, because by the way, he walked right by me. I know he's a big dude. He is, I don't know. I know they list him at 363. I have no idea what his real weight is. But when I saw him with the Jets, I know I reported this 2 or 3 years ago. He was actually over 400 pounds, I think. It was like 402 or something.
That's big.
2 or 3 years ago, he looked for him. Now I when he went by me, I'm like, wow, Becton's not like as broad as I remember. He's slimmed down. I was like, okay, as you said, maybe this weight loss could actually work out with him playing inside. But when I saw him on the first team, I was like, wow, okay, right. And he didn't look bad.
No. And by the way, somebody I think either emailed us or left a comment. Every once in a while I do look at comments, and they made a great point that because we were sort of saying what you just said, which is 6'8" for a guard. I mean, Harriman's is like 6'6", 6'7", but someone said Landon Dickerson is 6'7". He is a former tackle. He was a tackle at Alabama or Florida State, right? He started his career, I think, there at tackle. So he's 6'7". So like
He's actually 6'6". I think he's actually 6'6".
I thought he was listed. I thought he was more 6'7". Either way, the point is there's not a whole lot of difference between 6'6" and 6'8". So if you got a 6'6" guard and you're dealing with it, you can probably deal with 6'8" at guard. It's not that big of a difference. Not like going from 6'5" to 6'9" or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. Obviously, I was a little surprised myself that it was first team right off the bat, but then I thought it makes sense. Well, you want an athlete like that, a talent like that, you got to get him in there and see how it is. It's a perfect opportunity. And this is what mini camp is about. And this is why I made the "'tis the season" remark, because I've already heard, other people saying some things that I think personally are outlandish based on mini camp. I mean,
Oh yeah.
so they're throwing Mekhi Becton in there to see if he can actually do it against their first team day. I mean, it doesn't mean he's making the team or he's got a roster spot locked down because he's on first team. There's just been, N'Kobe Dean to me is not on like the bubble all of a sudden because he's not running with the first team. I think we just got to remember it's mini camp.
I know.
Practice.
Relax.
Pads aren't even
Just
on.
relax.
Relax.
You just mentioned the pads. Flip said that. Andrew said that. It's funny. I remember when I asked John, I said, you make hard decisions. He goes, listen, first of all, these players, he goes, he's coaching in another league, but he just said in general, in his time with so many teams over the years, he goes, you have to be careful about making hard comments because you can't, if you get overly physical, you can lose a training camp practice. There's very little physical play. These are all passing camps. That's all they are. But you do get to see athleticism, certain things, as I think you were alluding to. Coaches will try different things, but it's still important because coaches need tape. It's important for them. They need to evaluate it. But again, they're also not in pads. It's not physical at all. But it is practice. The only practice they have, so you got to evaluate it.
There you go. All right, so we'll go. Let's get back to Scharping. He's here. He's a veteran. He's got playoff experience. I see this similarly as what the Eagles had in 2017 with Steph Wisniewski. If Tyler Steen doesn't take the reins at right guard, and it's funny because in 17 they went straight from Seumalo. People forget they went to Chance Warmack for like either a half or a game. He was the project, right? It didn't work out, and then they went to Wisniewski the next game and never changed. So if it's not Steen, and maybe they get try Becton, and if that doesn't work, they've got a guy who you would hope can just hold it down because he's got plenty of starting experience, got some playoff experience. It's not ideal. No one's saying that, but you're entering a realm of uncertainty here anyway at right guard and at center. And so he gives you a little bit more of that insurance and stability, we're told. Now, can he also play center? Did you mention that?
He did. Yes, he did.
Okay.
He actually got snaps at center in the preseason last year. One more thing. He was severely overdrafted. He should have been, the way I understand it, he had 4th and 5th round grades in most teams. He got really overdrafted. This just happens sometimes. It does. He's probably a better version of Jack Driscoll. Bigger physically, he's just stronger, but he's not. When you're going the second round, like hey, by the way, now I know Dixon was hurt. That's why he went in the second round, not the first. Obviously, the Eagles have nailed that one. But Scharping he never became the player Texans thought he was, the regime that drafted him. And this, they went up moving on from him. The Bengals, he got pressed into service when Alex Kappa got hurt, and he did okay. But look, he was available, and it's a smart move. And what we said on that Monday morning show, and he signed like 2 hours after it dropped, is that they have to have more depth at guard, and they need a guy who could play both. He can. Becton only in this camp, there's only 5 minutes of 1-on-1s, 11-on-11s roughly. And he did that. He filled in for Dickerson. He didn't fill in at right guard. So
right.
Are they going to cross train him at right guard in training camp? Maybe. We don't have that answer, but still fascinating. The revolving door at guard is interesting.
Yeah, definitely much so. All right, let's go inside what we have heard about minicamp. Let's start with offense. We've talked about the new offense with Kellen Moore, what to expect. We've seen 11 personnel so far. There's a difference we talked about between motion and shifting. Motion is a lot more guys running across the line of scrimmage. Shifting might just be one guy who's lined up in a spot, just flexes out a little bit, or you may have a tight end go to the other side of the line, things like that. What have you heard about motion compared to shifting so far?
Oh, there's motion. Oh yeah, I did not notice that there was ghost motion as much as it was just your typical motion where the receiver goes behind the quarterback in motion. It wasn't your typical or the orbit. It doesn't mean they're not doing it. I mean, I didn't notice it. And we had heard coming into the camp, there will be motion in this offense. There's no question about it. How much of it is it as much as he usually runs? We're not going to know that for a while. A ton of 11 personnel. Now, I understand mostly this camp, because they're OTAs really, but this one was mandatory, is they're mostly 7-on-7 and 9-on-7, whereas I'd like to joke 7-on-4, because there's the defense is 7, the offense you'll see the quarterback or running back and 2 receivers. You'll see some of that. And there's no D line, because when I say there's really no pass rush, discernible pass rush. You'll see, like, people want to know about Josh Sweat and Huff. They're standing up.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see them playing with their hand down. And by the way, they're in coverage.
Right.
Like, you'll see them dropping the coverage a little bit. But you're not going to see how they really play until training camp. So I don't make a lot of comment. You'll not hear a lot of comments on here, or when we get even more information in future weeks about, oh gosh, Huff was incredible in this camp, because he's not being asked to do that. He's not being asked to rush here.
Nor do you draw a conclusion about the other thing, because I know when Eagles fans see outside linebacker or edge rushers dropping into coverage, they get really nervous about it. And yeah, you're going to see that a whole lot in camp, because these guys got to learn it. They at least just have to know it. And this is the avenue for them to get to learn it. It doesn't mean they're going to be doing it 85% of the time when the game starts. So, but you are going to see it a lot in mini camps, because you got first team, second team, third team, and you got a bunch of edge rushers who got to go out there and at least demonstrate that they understand the assignment and can do it. So again, that's why you don't take too much away from that. The offense, quarterbacks, I was told, Adam, I did a little homework. I was told it's not been great quarterback play from top to bottom so far. I mean, it's, again, no one said that to me in a panic mode. It's just hasn't been, it's been inconsistent.
Yeah, so I would say the term I was told, not crisp at all, total growing pains, completely new scheme, not even close to the scheme that Sirianni runs. I know they're gonna incorporate some of the stuff that Hurts likes and Kellen likes of what he saw from the scheme, the Sirianni scheme, but this is so different. The language is different. It's just different. It's going to take time. This is 25 years of reporting and asking questions to people. I'm not worried about it.
This is the classic. Don't shoot the messenger. Like, we're not freaking out. We're just telling you what the tape shows, that people have seen it or been there. Show,
let me put it this way. By July, if by August 15th, it looks like it did in OTs, I got a problem. Like, then there's a problem.
Right.
But this offense is so quarterback friendly. I've talked to so many people who've worked with Kellen over the years. This is one of the most offensive and quarterback friendly schemes that you can play in. Pickett, we'll get into Pickett. Hurts didn't have a great camp, but who cares? It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Pickett kind of up and down. This is also completely different than he played in with Arthur Smith, and not Arthur Smith, and with Matt Canada.
Right.
Ran a college scheme, but it was remedial, that scheme. It just he never should have got the OC job. Matt Canada's a really good OC from college. Just didn't work in the pros. But you could see it though when he had his feet set and he felt comfortable. The ball comes out with the glove. It's kind of weird wearing the white gloves with those hands which are smaller than 9. But when he squared up and he looks right, he looks apart. Like, the ball comes out. For people knocking his arm strength, like, I saw this. I was with the Steelers 2 days for last summer where he was really good. It's just this is going to help him. Better talent, better scheme. It's going to take time, folks. This is not something I'd be worried about right now. I know the reporters there. They just go by what they saw. I base this on, I don't know how many hundreds of practices Geoff and I have been to, particularly OT off-season practices. What you see is typically not what you get in terms of performance. I don't worry about it. I've learned my lesson for being wrong and overly dramatizing these damn practices. Like, oh my God, this guy didn't look good. Oh no. Ones up not meaning anything, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've watched many years ago a guy have the worst minicamp season,
Oh,
OTA and
boy.
minicamp that I have ever seen
Can I
in my
guess?
entire life. And this
What
guy
year?
still made the team.
What year?
2011 or 12,
Offense? Offense?
2012, maybe. Yeah, a
12?
quarterback.
Offense?
A quarterback.
Quarterback.
Yeah,
Oh,
he had
Nicky franchise.
no. It was the Stanford. It was Trent
Oh, Trent Edwards. Yes.
Trent
Yeah.
Edwards. I
He
mean,
was so bad.
he
Here's
couldn't
what
hit my
happened.
house. He
I'm
couldn't hit my
sorry.
house if he was standing right in front of it and
He
tried to
was
throw
really
it.
bad. Trent's a nice guy. I feel
Yeah,
bad,
great guy.
but
Yeah.
I actually met him at Combine a couple years ago. But he's working in data area. But what happened was, correct me if I'm wrong, was it that Jaguars preseason game? Please tell me I'm wrong. I should know this. He had a great preseason game, like a quarter, didn't he? Like the last preseason game.
Yes, and he somehow forced Mike Kafka off
Yes, that was
team
it. It was
because
ridiculous.
Kafka had a broken hand, so he
Right.
really, lost his job because of
Mike
that.
got kind of screwed. It was just so ridiculous because how are you throwing out everything you saw from a personnel standpoint, like from practice, and the guy has this great last preseason game, and you really like you're worried about cutting him, like I don't even know if he was. I can't remember if he was vested then, but it was just very odd.
Yeah.
So, but that was I do remember that he was.
I forgot we have we always pick up new listeners, and we may
Yeah.
have several thousand since the last time I told this story. But when I tell you, I didn't think Trent Edwards was going to make it to training camp. I thought he was going to get cut after minicamp, because he'll be the first to tell you. They never talked about him having a surgery on his shoulder. I think they were very hush hush.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he did, but there was some word out there that he had some kind of either procedure or something was bothering him from the year before. I forget who he was with the year, maybe the Ravens or something. But either way, he was legitimately as bad as you can imagine a quarterback. And then training camp came and he got a little bit, it was still a little better than the preseason games. And as Adam just mentioned, he wound up lighting it up in the final preseason game while Mike Kafka was out with I think a broken hand or hurt. And lo and behold, it was going to be, I think it was Vic, it was Nick Foles and Trent Edwards who made the team of the three quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, wow, this dude really. Now they wound up cutting Trent Edwards like literally 2 weeks later. But he
I was
made
going to
the
ask you.
53.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Couldn't remember. Yeah, in fact, yeah, he was. He actually. It looks like he actually was on the team that season. Am I seeing that correctly?
He made the 53, man.
No.
He
He
for a
did.
little bit.
I
Did he play all 16? Did he?
I think he was with the club the entire year.
Wow, I thought that they had cut him, but
They cut him the next offseason, but yeah, it's just it looks like he was he was the third stringer. Yeah, it was Vic, Nicky franchise, and Trent Edwards.
yeah, unbelievable.
Oh, here's one for you on that roster. Your favorite ever, Marty Gilliard. You love that guy.
Marty Gilliard from Maryland, right?
Cincinnati, I think you said.
You're right, Cincinnati. Marty with a D, Mardy.
Right, Marty, right? And
Yeah.
this is this roster. If you want to know why the Eagles were, oh god, what
No, we
Andy's
don't have to
last
go
year.
through that.
I'm sorry, I got to do this. I've got to do this.
Okay.
He never he kept this guy. Remember Damaris Johnson?
Oh yeah, of course. He was like 5'3".
Very small slot receiver returner.
I think he wound up latching on with Houston.
Texans, right.
Yeah.
Another Texan, Nate Menken, was there. Danny Watkins. Our buddy Clay Harbor. Carl Malone's son, Demetrius Bell. Yep. Our guy, Evan Mathis, who we got to know.
Yep.
And a guy that wound up, Joe Banner signed him to Cleveland as Deion Lewis, who actually had a nice career after he left the Eagles.
He wound up, he did play better when he got to New England, right? And he played better in some other spots. Yeah.
Yep. Chris Polk out of University of Washington.
I was just talking about Chris Polk on Football at 4, 97.
Really?
Yeah, I was relaying a story about the day. I think it was like the day either Cole Hamels pitched a no-hitter or got traded. That all happened within 1 week in his last year with the Phillies. I had been chasing down a story forever about Chris Polk. He had gotten the low tender as an undrafted free agent.
Yes.
And he and his camp were begging the Eagles to take off the low tender and let him become a free agent because they knew they'd have better offers than be a fourth running back on the Eagles, right? And they were willing to do it, even though it takes away the money he would make on the low tender. And I'm chasing this story all the time. I'm like calling every other day to figure out what they're going to do, and they did it. If you remember, they reneged the low tender on him and made him a free agent. And I had it first. I broke that news. I mean, this has got to be like the smallest story ever. But that day, I walk into the office at Comcast Sportsnet and that now NBC Sports Philly. We had a board that showed us every single story on the website and what the
Oh, I heard
viewership
this.
was.
Yeah.
And I go in, and my eyes almost fell out of my head. There were like 3 times as many views on my Chris Polk getting reneged tender story and becoming a free agent as there was on the Cole Hamill story. And I'm like, Eagles fans are nuts, man. Like, who cares?
That's crazy. Yeah, because you actually just told us yesterday on Football Forward. What
I
are the
did.
chances we
I
bring up
did.
Chris Polk? This roster was so bad in 2011. Excuse me, 2012, Andy's last year. No wonder he got canned. This roster was so pathetic.
Uh-huh.
Asamoah didn't work. DRC didn't work. Traded for Kevin Cobb. I mean, Dallas Reynolds, Todd's, Todd Herman's lasted a couple years. Selleck, of course. Stanley Havili, because Andy was when Andy used the fullback.
That's a great trivia question. Who is the last fullback ever to play for the Eagles? So far, it's Stanley Havili.
Is
He's
it
the
really?
last
Yeah.
player to be a
Okay.
fullback for
Chip
the
didn't
Eagles.
use one, right? Doug didn't use one. Peterson, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Just not a good roster. But my guy Kurt Coleman, I'll probably be playing golf with at some point this summer. I love Kurt, but yeah, this is Matt McBriar. One T McBriar. Only one T in his first name.
That's right, the former punter.
Yes, correct. Anyway,
Yeah, no, Doug got in on the extra tight end thing because he had Selleck, he had Trey Burton. They drafted Ertz. No, did he? No, Chip drafted Ertz. So he had Selleck,
Yeah.
Ertz, and Burton, and he wound up just going with the 3 tight ends.
Wow. But they
Yeah.
had Shady then. At least they had Shady. But yeah. But overall, so let's get back on track here.
Well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about running backs.
Yes.
You just mentioned Shady. So I mean, this is a passing camp. We all know about it. You're not going to learn a whole lot about running backs other than are they getting the ball passed to them. But you had an observation on Gainwell that I thought was interesting. You thought he looked a little bit more muscular.
I made this comment about Sanders, and I know people were making fun of me. I just saw it. I mean, you want observations or inside stuff. I remember Miles Sanders won OTAs. He came back noticeably. His thighs were huge.
Yep.
Not quite as big as Barkley. Speaking of Barkley and the new running back, but Gainwell's thighs were huge. I'm like, what? Okay. I maybe felt he needed to be more physical or hold up. I just thought it was interesting. Guys do that sometimes for better stability, obviously more power, and especially when you're in a scrum, for protect, like you obviously for protection, digging in your heels, whatever the case may be. He did look, his thighs were huge. Definitely way bigger than I recall. Will Shipley got some work with the twos with Gainwell. They flip-flopped a little bit, but Shipley also some with the threes. Shipley caught the ball well. Boy, I know some personnel people I spoke with said he doesn't run to a 4.39, but man, he's got some juice in the open field. I get it. You can't touch it. You can't do anything with physicality. All you can notice is athleticism and movement and stuff. He definitely in the open field, he catch the ball. He's smooth catching it, by the way. He is.
Okay. Good. So other than that, that's really, when you talk about running backs in minicamp, you're talking about catching the ball. Because there's really not a whole lot of running that
none. Basically,
there is none. There's none.
Yeah, there is, but technically it's ridiculous. If any running back looks bad, then they should be cut because you can't touch them. Again, it's 25 years of watching this stuff. I mean, now I want to see Ty Davis-Price more in training camp because he's a guy that Kyle Shanahan loved. He felt he could fit their scheme. I know the Eagles' run scheme's different, but they do. It's not like they run all gap.
Right.
He runs some zone. So I'm curious to see how he looks in this. Another note I have with these backs. Ty Davis-Price is tall. He's a little bit over 6 feet. He's got some size to him. Your guy Lou Nichols is definitely he's thick. He's thick.
Yeah, he's not tall, right? He's like 5'11", but he's
right. Kendall Milton's tall. Now he's a real long shot
to
make it, but he's got some size to him. A program they obviously are near and dear to their heart, Georgia. They love that school. And Barkley, again, they're wearing jerseys and shorts, so you can't tell. Like we'll talk about Jordan Davis when we get to defense, but you can't always tell. Barkley looks like you think he'd look like. It's just not. People want. The first thing you ask when you run into fans or people want to know on Twitter or whatever, they ask us, "Hey, how's this guy look? That guy look?" It's OTAs. You really could ask me or Geoff in training camp. We'll tell you because That's real football. Like this is like flag football. This thing.
Yeah,
Gotta be careful with that stuff.
that's right. So wide receivers.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh.
so
Jeff.
let's talk about the rookie, Aeneas Smith.
Nice, man. Yep.
He had he was coming off a stress fracture, correct?
Correct. They discovered at the combine. He's good. He's healthy. He's fine. Yeah.
He's healthy, but I think that prohibited him from doing some early practicing. I
Yep.
know he's had a couple of drops. I think I saw, was it Andrew DeCecco who reported that maybe Nick Sirianni was really getting, I don't know, you were at one of these
I was there.
practices,
He
right?
got
You saw
on
it,
him with
right?
Nick. Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. Nick does what coaches do. You get on guys when they're careless. Like he had 2 drops in punt returns. We'll get into. I want to make sure before we get to offense. I mean the defense. I want to talk about special teams because they're doing now because of the kickoff rule. They're doing the duo. It's called dual kickoff, dual returners. And we'll get into that. But Aeneas Smith, give him time, folks. He missed a lot of the offseason because he was coming back from his foot issue. Give him time. I'm not overdo. I know he's been sloppy with the ball security. I get that. That's fair. But we're not in training camp when it matters. So you note it. You don't make a big deal about it. It happened. You move on. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, everything that we have reported about the wide receiver position, everything that's pretty glaringly obvious remains the case. The Eagles have 2 very good wide receivers. No questions there.
Studs.
Absolutely studs. They may have the
Yeah.
best wide receiver tandem in the NFL, although there's some pretty good ones, man.
They're right up there, top 3.
Yeah, right up there. God, that'd be a great kind of ranking, between Hill and Waddle in Miami, and then is there anything else that
Higgins
Higgins and Jamar Chase?
But
Yeah,
I'll take no offense for Higgins, man. Devontae's better.
yeah. Devontae's better. Yeah, that one in Miami though, that's a tough one. That's
incredible. I know
that's a pretty legit one right there.
I know that's a. Ironically, Jeff and I were at training camp. Was it 3 years ago in Miami? 2 years ago. We actually saw Vic there though.
That's right.
He's visiting with the Eagles. But I remember it was that the day when who did Tyreek Hill run around in circles?
Slay. Yeah.
Oh man. But anyway.
Go ahead. So yeah. No, so the point was they're very top heavy, but everything else remains the truth. What we know is the case is that there has to be a third person here who steps up. And right now it's just practice and you may hear about John Ross catching a pass or
it's
Paris
good though.
Campbell. Yeah, no, it's good, but I just know from the feedback I'm getting is they know they need a third person.
Oh, they have to get another guy. They can't go in. They can't. I mean, training. They can't. Honestly, their depth. Andrew and I were talking about this. We both said this. I think he brought it up first. He goes, "What do you think about the depth? They got to do something." I said, "I know. They can't go into training camp with this."
So, who do you think that they would love to come out of training camp really happy about more? Ross or Paris?
Actually, Austin Watkins, they'd love him to make the team and be a good backup for him. But as far as obviously Paris has got it. Paris, barring a miracle, is going to barring a negative miracle, is going to be on the team. They don't have anybody else.
Negative miracle, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm saying, but I could come up with something. So it's the dumbest thing I've ever said. It's funny though.
It's great. A negative miracle.
Yeah, if he which means if he fell flat on his face, this is terrible.
Yeah,
they got a real look, folks. They have no depth at receiver. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah, no,
I mean, the Johnny Wilson. I saw Johnny Wilson at the Senior Bowl. I'm a Johnny Wilson stan. To be honest with you, I like this kid's got ability. He's got to put it all together, do everything he's supposed to do on and off the field. Like there's some maturity issues with him, which is very well known, and every scout I talked to brought it up. But I was like, I focus more on the talent. The kid is long. You can't teach that. He made some beautiful plays at the Senior Bowl on an open field. They have a major depth issue. There's a wonderful opportunity when we get to the dog days of August for him to open it up there a little bit and see what he can do. He's not a tight end, as we said, and he said. Ngata just doesn't move well enough. He's strong. I get it. He had a good training camp last year, but it just doesn't run well enough.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I think it's just hard. 20 years in of seeing these kind of things, it's hard to be optimistic about anybody outside those first 2 receivers. I mean, there's good concepts, like the concept of a healthy Paris Campbell in the slot, sure, but he very rarely stays healthy. He's not exactly a slot receiver. You mentioned Johnny Wilson; he's a rookie 6th-round pick. I mean,
exactly.
But Aeneas Smith, you're hoping, but right now it's just he's a rookie, so it's swimming. It's just hard. This is not like it's been the last few years, and that's just another part. That is just the reality of the situation. So we'll see what happens.
What's frustrating is their depth of receivers was way better last year, but they wouldn't get the third receiver involved. This year, actually the fourth receiver, because Kellen, I'm told, based on people who've worked with him, he will run 10 personnel, which means 4 receivers and 1 back, no tight end. That's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much they're going to play of it. Not as probably much as Cliff Kingsbury in Washington, but they'll play some, and they're going to be heavy 11. They'll be amongst the leaders in 11. So they can't. Paris Campbell's just got to be the man. He's got to show up, and they'll have to eventually add a veteran at some point, or somebody who they had a nice grade on from another team who maybe become free. But John Ross, by the way, he's healthy. Knock on wood. He looks good. And and I know it could be a function of what they asked him to do because it was a passing camp. He did catch the ball in short area very well. He looks like he's healthy. He could still run. We'll see when the lights go on, so to speak, in training camp. We'll see what he can do. Covey is competing for time as a slot receiver. Paris Campbell should be Devontae Smith's backup as their Z receiver, or as Nick Sirianni says, the other outside receiver. He hates calling them X and Z and Y. Okay. Jacob Harris didn't practice. I was disappointed with that. It's one of my guys. I was hoping
me too.
saw him in training camp years ago with the Rams before he tore his ACL, and unfortunately hasn't been the same. Didn't practice. I don't know what the injury is. Watkins didn't really stand out. 41. We'll look into him. Also, he's now 41. But Austin Watkins, I know a lot of fans are interested in. Shaquan Davis, big guy. I think South Carolina State last year with yes, I am correct, 6'4.5". Who's long. He's not wide though. He is long though. He's tall. I watched him in individual. He's kind of lanky. We'll have to see him get stronger, but they have a depth issue. Again, depth is not this is the term I know DeCecco likes it. Andrew uses it. I'm glad I could give it to him, and whoever wants to use it. Depth, as coaches have drilled into me, is not about quantity, it's about quality. They have nobody who's proven. It's nice that Johnny Wilson will have a good chance to make the team based on the depth issue, and he's way more talented, by the way, than a 6th-round pick. Right. Not every team likes Johnny Wilson, but there's talent there. But they're going to have to do something. You for a team that aspires to go way further than last season, no one's kidding themselves here. They're eventually going to have to do something.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Let's just talk about the guys now up front before we finish up the offense, the tight ends and the offensive line. Was Uzama out there?
Yes, he's doing the Y stuff, which we expected. He looks healthy. He's a big dude. He runs a little bit better. I mean, not a great athlete, but he runs a little bit better than you think. I didn't really notice Alberto, but we'll look into him. Calcaterra caught a ton of passes. He looks like he always does. He's athletic, great, but he has not commanded the ball at all. Now, could you use him as a 11 personnel Z receiver or reduce him outside? Sure, like the Rams do when they move. They're technically outside receivers, but they move him in a little bit. Sure, and Calcaterra can do that, but and that's being creative. Sure, they can. I think Sirianni talked about that anyway, about using other guys at other positions as receivers. Sure, but we're gonna look at Alberto because they gave him, as we put on Patreon, his contract. They keep doing this with these guys. It's not a lot of money, but they're guaranteeing half of the contract. It's only like it's like maybe 1.5 million, 1.4, but they are guaranteeing him money, so they obviously think he's got a chance to be here.
Yeah. All right, so that is the tight end situation, and you just nailed it on the head. Like, these camps they're tailor made for a guy like Grant Calcaterra to look good. I mean, you just
can't hit him
like you're a wide receiver, right? You're open. They got to just hit you.
Tap. It's flag football, and I'm a flag guy. I mean, I'm a big flag football guy. Work for the American Flag Football League, so I know it very well. But this is what it is. They're passing camps. They're not meant to run the football. They're not meant to rush the passer. So I know people are going to say, well, then why was the offense good? It's because they're learning it. They've never run the scheme before. And this is not 2002 when you could have where you're going to have a 2.5-hour OTA practice. They're just over an hour. Which, by the way, I think this is Nick. I know it's Nick's call in the end. I just wish that, and I'm sure they're not concerned about it, but that's the other part about this. They're just not practicing enough. They could have had 10 OTA practices. They had what, 6?
Yep.
So that's on him. Like
that is
like,
part of the agreement.
Yep.
As far as offensive line, we did talk a little bit about that so far. Brett Toth continues to work at second team center. I tell you, one of the kids, I think it surprised me was because Fred Johnson played second team right tackle, and then one of
Yes.
those kids that they signed as an undrafted free agent whose name,
Donkwa. Donkwa.
yeah,
He played
Dogwa,
left.
yeah, he played
I
left
don't know
tackle.
what to make. See, this is where I get fooled.
Right.
This is where I go, I saw this guy run second team, and then they wound up being a fourth team guy when training camp starts. So I never know what to make of this stuff. I know coaches have told me over the years they experiment, or maybe they just
Mhm.
want to see different personnel group, whatever the case may be.
Of course.
But Aneem Dankwa from Howard University is so long.
Love that name.
Yeah, he's over 6'7". This sounds like a stout project here. Who knows? Stout, I don't argue. The guy, he's the best. He knows what he's doing. But
Right.
we'll see. We'll see if this means anything in training camp. And I'm going to remind people when half of the stuff means nothing. I go, we told you not to read into this stuff, but you insist on reading into it. But it's our job to mention it.
Yeah, that is true. I'm trying to I guess the only thing that surprised me, you would have thought Fred Johnson would have been left tackle and then maybe Donkwa would have been right tackle, but it just shows you that they're still committed to playing this Darian Kennard kid that they got from the Chiefs to guard because he
Yes.
was left guard. And they see him as a guard. We reported that. The Chiefs moved him from tackle to guard. So the Eagles have a lot of guys who are candidates to impress themselves or endear themselves to the coaching staff as guards. But you look at tackle, and of course, they're great with Mailata and Lane Johnson, but gets pretty thin after that. I mean, obviously, Fred Johnson did a good job last year to become the backup, and Becton, if it doesn't work out at guard, can maybe still be a tackle. By the
Yeah,
way, I
but wait,
forgot to
hang on,
mention.
just
Go ahead.
1 second though with Becton. I don't know that this is because you're acting like this is permanent with Becton. I don't see it that way.
No. I just said
Yeah.
like if it. Well, you're right. I said if it doesn't work out. I
No,
shouldn't.
no,
have
he's
said
a
it that
tackle
way.
first. Yeah,
Yes.
based
Yeah.
on what we know. It's as you reported first, that they definitely wanted to cross train at guard, which they did, and,
Hmm.
and Dickerson wasn't in there. Now, moving forward here, Becton still is the top backup outside, backup left and right tackle. Johnson now shown he could play right or left tackle, so they're fine. Their depth is fine.
Yeah, that's true. That's for the yeah. By the way, Becton, you mentioned looked better.
Yeah,
From what
slimmer.
from what I understand, they'd like him to be I mean, because he's such a big dude, they're
Yeah.
still trying to get him down a little bit more.
Well, I could tell you that I know he lost over 40 pounds at one point. Look,
Mhm.
he's over 6'7". Can he get down to pie in the sky 340? I don't know if he's capable of it. You love that. Now, on your point, maybe they have a target weight. They always have a target weight for these big guys. I don't know
Mhm.
what I know. Jordan Mailata's, I was told, was like 375-ish.
Yes, and you remember a couple of years ago, they wanted him to slim down a little bit. I
He was
thought he
over
had came a
400.
little bit big. Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
were told that he was over 400 at one point, and boy, did he
yeah,
show up. He got the message, whatever they gave him, like 6 weeks later, training camp, he looked phenomenal. Like, I don't
yeah.
know what he did it, but they look, we'll see what the depth looks like on at guard because there's so many moving parts. I've never seen so many.
It is, and a lot
You
of
know?
new guys. Like they're all new. It's crazy,
And right, Hennessy, okay, let me my
Kennard,
notes.
Hennessy, Sharping. I mean, Steens is really got just his second year. Just a lot of new guys.
So Hennessy, right guard, I believe he got some at center. I know Toth did, but I don't know if it was second team or I don't know. I'm not clear how
Yeah,
they
I
did
know.
this.
I know. Andrew reported that Toth was mostly the second team
Okay.
center.
Okay.
Did they have a third team? Did they do a third team?
I thought he took steps at center. I could be wrong, but I know this. He definitely was a right guard because I noted it when I saw it.
Yeah,
Um,
there had to be a third team. Right? What about the rookie that they drafted? He had to have been probably the third team.
oh, McMahon. Yes. He
McMahon.
by the way, he is small. You want size stuff? People like that stuff. He is. I know that they're in jerseys. Players normally look smaller, even Mailata, if it could be possible. But he definitely is small. Like he definitely looks like he's under 300. And by the way, he is.
Mm-hmm.
The 290s. He's another guy. When you talk to teams, they'll tell you we had a priority free agent too small. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just you just don't know about him. But look, he's a center. He's athletic. We'll see if he can make it. I wonder if the decision not to play Hennessy at center a little bit or at all, it was just that they know what he is at center. They
Yes.
need to get him done at guard. That's what I'm thinking.
100%. 100. That would be my first thought. Exactly. Same thing with getting Becton first team guard. You're trying to see what he can do there, right? You know what he can do. You know he can play tackle. He obviously has to do better at it, and that starts with conditioning and weight. But you know he's been a tackle all his life. You want to see how he can do at center, and I think that's the same thing with Hennessy. That hasn't played enough guard or any guard, right guard in the NFL. So throw him in there and see what he can do. I think that's exactly it. We'll finish it off offense with your guy Keegan, who you said was drafted, and I know that there were some medical
Oh,
concerns.
Trevor
He was beat
Keegan.
up. Yeah, Trevor.
Yeah.
And he was off to the side on the second day.
Yeah.
This is a guy who took some pounding at Michigan.
Yeah, it just okay. What you said, it wasn't that. It's similar to your note about Nakobe Dean. You had this note after the Eagles drafted him that you heard that while Dean never missed time, they felt his body was beat up. Well,
Yeah.
that was in scouting circles. There was a concern that Keegan, through the wars of playing inside, the playing inside the phone booth, so to speak, when you play inside, he was kind of beat up a little bit physically, and that was a concern his upper body. So that's what other teams gave us. So it's something we'll look into. But he had a lower body injury. We don't know what it is. So he was not working on Wednesday. I didn't see him working. We'll see. I mean, he's never played right guard. It's been all left guard. It's pretty, by the way, very good college player. We're not trying to be negative here. We're just trying to give you real information, whether it's positive or negative. We got to tell you what we know.
Yeah, he killed my team. I know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a power player. But we'll see. But what else? Anything else on the offensive line?
No, I was just going to ask. With Scharping, was he because he signed on Monday? Was he out there already?
Yeah, third string guard. Yes.
Okay,
I watched him. Yeah, he
right.
is. Could remember he was. I forgot it when this guy told me. He goes, he was a tackle in college. I'm like, really, Max Scharping? Never played in pros. He goes, yeah. The league knew that he was not athletic enough to play tackle at this level, so he moved inside. But he's tall. I mean, he looked over 6'5". I'll look at, in fact, he is. He's just under 6'6". So, yeah, he was. I didn't notice. I just know he's third team. I didn't notice whether it's left or right guard, but he just got here, so I'm sure they'll work him in. And boy, they really do need him. He'd be a real help because he's shown the ability to play. Like he's a good guy. There's the term that which you've used, which personnel people will tell you. You need somebody to get you out of a tough spot for 3 to 4 games, any position. Your backups have to be able to do that. If they can't, they shouldn't be on the football team. Right. This guy's shown the ability to do that. He's Absolutely. A liability for 8, 10 games, but for 3, 4 games, he should be fine. You hope. Because he has shown the ability to do that.
All right. On that note, we're going to talk about some other guys the Eagles are going to need to rely on, but on the other side of the ball on defense in a second. First thing, you've heard us talk about the Game Time app, or if you want to use them for tickets online, it's gametime.co. Adam, I'll tell you 2 great things about Game Time. One, they are the official authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. So that makes getting playoff tickets, and I know the Sixers aren't in it. It's Dallas, it's Boston. We've talked about, hey, if you want to go make a road trip to Boston and buy tickets just to boo the Celtics, which I'm totally all for, you can do that getting tickets on Game Time. Prices on Game Time app go down the closer it gets to tip off. So with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. But I tell you what else Game Time's good for. It certainly served me well earlier this week. Baseball tickets. Oh. I got Phillies tickets for the family on Tuesday night. We went to Phillies Brewers because we bought on using the Game Time app. We used the Game Time deal, like the what is it called? The zone deal, right? Where it gives you the best seats per price in the row, and if somebody else has a better one, they'll refund you. Well, we couldn't find a better price on any other location, so we went with Game Time's recommendation. Had a great time. It was a big win. Nick Castellanos in the 10th inning with a big double off the wall there that scores Whit Merrifield, I believe, the runner who starts on second base in extra innings, and it was a great game.
By the way, didn't I have a discount? Did you use a discount?
I did, yeah, because, and as I'll get to at the end, if you use the discount word that I'll give you, you get $20 off. So cool. That's what also helped make it the best price. And honestly, it was such an easy. I've used Game Time app before. I think they've updated it since I last did. The view from the seat is incredible. The ability to get all the information that you need, including the full price. Sometimes you'll go to sites and they'll have like the price, and then you think you're getting that, and then they got like this fee, that fee, that fee. No, like they give you the full price right there. You know exactly what you're paying. And I think that's one of the best things about Game Time, along with how easy it is to navigate the app. So thanks to Game Time, me and the family had a great time. One of my little daughters got up on the Jumbotron at one point. So that was pretty cool for her. And that was all made possible.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. All made possible by Game Time app. So it's a very, very user-friendly app, ticket app. View from the seats, we told you. And it just doesn't have to be just sports. It could be concerts, it could be shows, anything that you can get tickets for. We talked about the event cancellation protection, the job loss protection. There's just so many great perks with the Game Time app that you can't get anywhere else. I think everybody who listens to Inside the Birds, who goes to events, would have an amazing experience using the Game Time app. So save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Take advantage of the zone deals. That's the one I was just talking about. Take advantage of the all-in pricing, the view from the seat, the lowest price guarantee, where you'll get credited 110% of the difference if you find something at a better price. Take advantage of all of those perks with the Game Time app. And you can also take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So download the Game Time app, create the account, use the code BIRDS to get $20 off your first purchase. That's what I used, BIRDS, to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Nice.
All right, we'll talk about the defense here. Defense is always ahead of offense, everybody. Just remember that. Whether it's so you're hearing about all these interceptions, it's always ahead of offense.
I would
Plus, they have a
say
huge advantage.
I would say though, that typically it's the offense that has it ahead of the defense in OTAs.
Oh, because there's no pass rush?
Right. Right. And there's a pass camp. But this is one of those situations where, not take anything away from the defense, from what we saw and what we heard, but the offense, they're kind of like so far, because remember, brand new offense, new scheme, new terminology. Defense is exactly the same. This is a different guy calling it. It's I know it's a little bit more nuanced, because the originator of the Fangio defense, Vic, is calling it. It's his scheme, new coaching staff, mostly new coaching staff on defense, but they're running the scheme. They were running it the last 3 years, the past 3 years. So, of course, they're going to have an advantage. I didn't quite think it would be this much, but it's okay. I mean, yeah. But any notes you have on the front?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost. I think you already mentioned this. Talking about pass rushers, as far as performance in minicamps, it's like you can't hit the quarterback, you can't get blocked. So all we can really discuss is, does the guy have a lot of energy? Does he look differently?
Sure.
I just wanted to focus on Nolan Smith, because these are the type of camps where, you remember my notes last year on him, where it's watching him practice it's truly special. I mean, he practices as hard and as fast, and his athleticism is always on display in these camps. And I was told that he's just such a freakish athlete, and is showing it. But the one thing that we thought he might do this offseason was add a little weight. So far, from what I understand, he's kind of around the same, right around 230. I think they'd like him to be 10 to 15 pounds heavier. Maybe he might be one of those guys where it's tough to gain weight, but we saw the impact of him being a little smaller last year, especially against the run at times, or when an offensive lineman got their hands on him. But he is explosive, but it would benefit him to be a little bit bigger if he can.
Yeah, he did talk earlier this week, I think it was, about his shoulder's good to go. Yeah, his press conference is phenomenal. I mean, I enjoy hearing him speak. The question will be, as once we get into training camp, because you can't really tell now, because the edge rushers aren't really doing a lot of edge rushing, to be honest with you. The only question is, do they have him play inside backer, like you noted last year in OTAs? I didn't notice it when I was there, and I have not been told that. Maybe you've heard something different. I don't know.
No, I have not heard that yet.
Yeah.
I'll look into that, though.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're cross-training him in that. Because, well, again, they probably don't need to. How many inside backers do they need? I mean, geez, he only played
I
two.
think that's a big part of it too. Yeah.
So, let's get to the linebackers, because people are going out of their minds with some of this stuff. It's so funny, because they're so worried about Jacoby Dean. He's running with a second team. It's okay.
Right.
He's coming back from a major, worst injury of his career. The full-blown Liz Frank rupture. He's good to go. He's healthy now. He's having to make up for lost time with conditioning and everything. So he's running second team. It's Zach Bond, who's bigger. He's taller than Dean. He's taller than White. Actually, Devin White might technically weigh more than Bond. I'm not sure. I'll look into that. It's
Yeah.
possible. But Bond's a very unique inside backer, a little bigger than they typically are in today's NFL. But he was a strong side linebacker in New Orleans 43. He's covered tight ends before, but he's barely played defense, quite frankly. So this is interesting. Vic wasn't lying. He said he's going to line. They're going to line up at inside backer. He didn't say he wouldn't line up at outside, but they don't really need him to be an edge rusher. To be honest with you, they have enough of those guys. And he's got a unique skill set to play inside. We'll see how much this means at training camp. Probably a lot, I would think.
Yeah,
that's all he really played here was inside backer. And the second team with Burks, Burks and Dean and Van Sumeren also got some work with the twos on Tuesday. And it's Trotter 13. I know people are Trotter Jr.
There you go. Yeah, this is a spot where the Eagles are really looking to see some people develop and step up.
Merge.
And I think that if you shot them up with True Serum, they would say they're not 100% sure they're going to see it, but that's what they really want to see. They need to be able to see it. I mean, brought in a lot of names here.
Yes.
The Zach Bond thing, it's an interesting thing. It's fun, but you have to remember he has not played a whole lot on defense in general, whether it's edge or inside linebacker in the NFL. So I know everybody's getting excited. Oh, he's with the first teams. He's this outside linebacker who has the athleticism of an edge rusher, but he can play inside linebacker. They're just seeing what he can do. They like the concept of it. Vic Fangio talked about it, but nobody is confident that they can line up right now and play the Packers on that Friday night with Zach Bond as a starting inside linebacker, or even just playing inside linebacker. That they've got.
I think this one I think has a high percentage of playing back, or I don't know about starting, but because when you look at the edge group, right? Huff, BG, I know Hunt's a deep backup. There might be some weeks he doesn't dress. Sweaty, Julian Aquara, who they gave some guarantee money to. They like to take a look at him. They've got enough edge rushers. So, well, they have names now. How good they are.
Yeah, I hear where you're going with that, and I thought the same thing. And it was reminded me, if Josh Sweat isn't back to what he was last year,
a different story.
And if Jalix Hunt isn't going to play very much, then they don't really. And if Nolan Smith doesn't, I know it's a bunch of and ifs, but one of those three might not, or two of those three might not, right? So if Zach Bond's a good edge rusher, and it's better than what he's showing at inside line, or if Nakobe Dean and White is what they want inside line, then you can see him getting some significant time there.
Well, again, you as we look at the edge rusher group, it's your starters are Huff and Sweat, Smith and Graham Nolan Smith and Graham are your top backups. Hunt, if they need to dress a fourth. And by the way, Teron Jackson was getting work with the twos on Tuesday. I remember number 75.
Oh my God, I forgot he was still on the team.
I know. I just want to mention that. And then I didn't see him. I'm going to be looking for him. Terrell Lewis, of course, because I can't remember the numbers anymmer. They don't wear normal numbers anymore. Terrell Lewis is 46. I just want to, because he's body beautiful. He's like 6. He's a huge dude. And at another school they know very well, Alabama.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
And Aquara they gave money to. So let's just see. They have a lot of names. We'll see how good they are. Nolan Smith is healthy. He's got to be a factor, man. There's room for him now with Reddick traded. There's room for him. Not only Reddick traded, but they've gotten. You mentioned Sweat, who dropped off significantly last season. They need Nolan. They need Nolan to be the third guy. They really do.
Yeah. By the way, that's really funny as we talk about mini camps and what we read into it. A player like Julian Okwara, kind of under the radar. We're not talking about him much. Got to fight to make the team. He has been far more productive as an NFL player than Zach Bond because he's just played more snaps, and yet Zach Bond's getting headlines. He's starting inside first team off-ball linebacker with Devin White. It's just so funny in that regard because literally he hasn't done anything remotely close to what Julian Okwara's done. Now, I'm not trying to make Okwara about to be a Pro Bowler. I'm just really just trying to show you how little Zach Bond has played outside of special teams in the NFL, and yet he is getting like all of this, like, we're going to do this and that. And no one says anything about Julian Okwara. So that's mini camps for you.
So that would be there's again because they can't hit anybody. You can't really make any assumptions other than not Burks. Bond, Vic was not joking. He really wants to see him play inside backer. He did. We'll see if he gets any run in training camp at outside. That's Brandon Smith. I didn't see him. That's pretty much. We'll look into him, see if he's got any chance. But the question will be, from a number standpoint, they actually have way better. They're going to have much. They're going to have much better competition in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what this stuff means that we saw here. But that's the front. Again, like talk about Jordan Davis. Okay, like I think Andrew had a good observation. He had Jalen Carter. He got who did he get? He got
Steen. He
Steen.
put
Okay,
Steen on his rear end. Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, again, I didn't see that one, so I didn't see that rep, so I don't know you're not supposed to hit anyone, you're not supposed to be physical. There's limited physicality, like you can't really engage. I don't know. I didn't see the play, but
I mean, he also could have Steen could have just sort of fallen over himself.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the context, but Jordan Davis, I just want to mention before we get to the secondary and a little bit special teams. He's dead. Look, everyone knew this. We put this out 3 months ago. He once again, he was in early in the offseason, looked really good. We could be fooled again because we don't know how he can handle the increase of snaps. They're coming. He has to play a ton of snaps this year. They don't have enough players at D tackle. He's got to play a lot. He doesn't have to play 80% of the snaps, but he's got to play significantly more than he did last year, and he's got to be better. We'll see.
100%. Ben Van Sumeren is DeCecco's big on him. He did get to work with the twos on Tuesday. That's good. You can't count this guy out. He's too important as a special
athletic.
Too athletic. Yeah. So that just has to play out later this summer. So that's linebackers. Let's talk secondary. The secondary has been the standout. I mean, it's safe to say they have some young, interesting names. They obviously have a first and a second round pick there. But even when I looked into it, said, hey, the secondary is looking good so far. And that sort of brought up us trying to do a way too early for the second time sort of 53 as we try to figure out how all these corners make it. And so our listeners know, I asked Adam the other day, I said, Ringo is playing well so far in camp, and Isaiah Rodgers is playing well. And I said, I struggle to see a scenario where both of these players make the team. And Adam says, well, why not? And I said, well, how many corners are they going to keep? Because if you do the math, Slay is 1, Quinyon is 2, DeJean is 3. Whoever is your nickel, whether it's Avante, whether it's Tyler, is your 4th, right? So you got 4 corners right there. Ringo, I would agree with you because he's a 4th round pick, and he's
making it. He's making it.
Yeah, he's making it. I'm like, that's 5 already, and we haven't talked about Josh Jobs, who's very important on special. He is a core special. He's
phenomenal. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, and when you're talking about a 6th corner, you're talking about special teams more than actual. So I'm looking at Rodgers saying, unless he unseats Maddox or Hall for nickel, I don't know how he and Ringo make it, because what's the point of keeping him to be your 6th corner when he's not a special teamer in the core 4 way. He can return kicks, but how many outside corners, backup corners do you need, right?
Well, okay. So here's the thing that's complicating. We don't know where DeJean is going to line up. He so far, and we'll see what happens today. He's played nickel slot and outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
Both. So he was the second team. He's played on the second team. Got a little bit of work with the ones, I believe, on Wednesday. But again, long term this season, they've not talked about safety. They want him, as Christian Parker, the DB's coach, said they're gonna get to him just doing one thing. Now, we don't know what that one thing is yet, so we'll learn that soon. We may actually learn soon. We'll look into it. But right now, you've got, week 1, it's going to be Slay and Mitchell. Okay, let's not worry about Mitchell, who, by the way, got a little bit of work with the ones on Wednesday. They didn't draft this guy to sit. He's going to be starting week 1. Your starting outside corners are Slay and Mitchell. Let's put DeJean to the side for a second.
Okay.
Ringo and Rodgers right now would be your top outside corners. Ricks is running with 13. It doesn't mean he can't run with the second team in training camp. Again, we're just looking at what we saw so far. Bradbury's, we need to mention this, who got hurt very early in Tuesday's practice. He's in practice since then.
Yeah, you're not going to see him.
Right, we're not expecting to be with a team in September, but now he's being moved to safety.
I just meant in practice. I mean, I think that the whole move to safety, then all of a sudden you're in the medical tent. That's I mean, listen.
I'm not going to. I'm going to be the voice of reason. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory. Why would they, people are acting like this might be faking an injury? What the hell for? They owe them the money. They're not. What?
No, I mean, I think he doesn't want to get hurt, though. If he wants to play somewhere else, he wants to get traded. I don't think he just wants to collect money at home. I think he wants to still play.
Right, but you want to be out there to show you can do something because the guy's tape was so bad
No,
this
I think
season.
I disagree. I think you're better off not showing anything than showing something. What are you going to show us? Third team safety.
I would say, okay,
Come on.
there is the teams have done this before, but they've done it more where they showcase a guy in preseason. I know the Eagles have done it before. Other teams have done it. They want teams to show the guy's healthy, but this is a unique one. I don't see it, but we're just not going to agree on this one.
Yeah, I think look, bad cornerback play is so prevalent in the NFL that I think Bradbury could get a job as a backup corner pretty easily. So I think, yeah, I think he could.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, there have been worse corners. I mean, my God, Josh Norman a couple of years ago was still hanging around with the Bills. I mean,
Buffalo kept bringing him back. I know.
Yeah,
he's working.
Yeah, I'm not telling you he's going to be a star. I'm just saying he'll get a backup job somewhere. He will.
So let's finish this cornerback talk off. So
okay,
Mitchell, look let's give you some notes that we've seen and we've heard. He looks smooth. They did not want to overwhelm him because this is a new system for him. He's perfect for match, carry, deliver, but with the mirror match concepts and carrying to a certain spot, take him to your landmark, handing him over to the next guy, he's just perfect for it. So smooth, but we're letting him be the starter right now. He's just not ready to be the full time. He'll get there in training camp. That's what counts for. But Rodgers looks good. Like, see, remember, and the strangest of his situation was he was the last one to get reinstated, if you remember. I don't know why he was the last one of all the guys that were suspended for the gambling. I thought it was kind of odd.
Was it alphabetical order that they were?
I don't know. I think he was asked that by the media, and I don't know. I can't remember what his response was, but they got their answer. They needed to know where he was at. He's good. He looks fine. He's okay. Forward and back is good. He's good to go. He by the way, he's way faster than Ringo. Ringer's longer. Ringo, for a guy who has trouble transitioning, has looked good. He's had a good offseason. What that will wind up meaning when they actually could get physical, that's what we're going to learn. We're not making any broad statements. He's going to be on the team. That if you want to call that a broad statement, or as Cosell says, a hot take. Greg doesn't do hot takes, but he loves to make fun of that stuff.
Or as Caplan would say, barring a negative miracle, he
love that one. I don't know where I came up with that nonsense.
Yeah, I wrote that one down.
That was a good one, though. That was a good one. Oh, I got some great ones in SiriusXM fantasy with John Hansen over the years. You got to hear some of the stuff they've flipped. It's so funny.
So you guys are like freaking frack on that show.
I know, we say some stupid beliefs. We love it. The people love it. So they like to make fun of us. We enjoy it. But so getting back to this. So I've got it. Slay, Mitchell. Eventually, obviously Mitchell, Rodgers and Ringo, and then I'm just talking outside corners. Now Ricks. Job will never play on defense. He's just going to be special teams like that. Right. He's exceptional.
So you have Ricks making it too?
What's that?
You're saying you think Ricks makes it too?
I don't know. Right now he's third team. It's going to be hard for Eli. It's going to be. By the way, he outplayed Ringo until late in the season. But one thing I do need to mention, I know it's obvious, but we need to keep saying this. Remember now, everyone has a clean slate with this defense. Yes. Vic saw the defense. He saw the tape. Christian Parker, the DB's coach, saw the tape. Clint Hurt, the D-line coach, saw the tape. Everybody saw the tape. These guys didn't coach them. They weren't here last year. So whatever Eli Ricks did, which was really good, by the way, great story, did everything the coaches asked, doesn't matter. It's how they think he fits in. The fact that he's running third team and Rodgers and Ringo are over him, as of now, we'll see what happens today. They're kind of telling you where that thing's at. I know things could change potentially in training camp.
Yes.
But the better athletes are Rodgers and Ringo. Ricks is long, but he was not drafted for a reason. He's just not a good enough athlete. Now, he's tough. He's smart. That's great. But the other guys have better pedigree to do this, and we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. So you would have Slay, Mitchell, Rodgers, Ringo, whoever is your nickel back, you would have a nickel. So that's 3, 4, 5. And then Job would be 6. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's setting DeGene aside.
You got to put him on there.
And by the way, the reason you can do that is because the Eagles are so thin at safety right now that even if you were considering DeGene as some kind of cornerback, whether outside or nickel, you can also kind of consider him just a defensive back because they're only right now, you would only keep 3 safeties the way they are right now. You would keep CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, and Sidney Brown, who might not be healthy, we'll see. But I mean, you could say DeJean as a defensive back would be like that fourth guy, and that would give you 10, and that's kind of a normal secondary. It's a little much. Sometimes they've kept 9, but I think they kept 10 last year. So we'll see.
And then in one of the formations, Mitchell played. You could call him a jack line. I don't know. Did he line up in the middle? He was a dime linebacker, but I can't remember where he was located.
I thought he was outside, and they moved somebody else inside. When
I think Mitchell and Vaughn did dime, but they also did one with Mitchell playing a specific. There's a title for it. I have to find out what it's called. There's some
the star, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
But the star was the Malcolm Jenkins role. It wasn't the star role though. It's a good point, but I don't think. In fact, I know it wasn't.
Okay.
They might have it. I don't know what Vic calls it. I have to check into this. We'll look into that. By the way, that's interesting. Now, I don't know if that's just because of OTAs and it's a pass camp you want to do that. I don't know what it means.
Of course.
But
all research.
Yeah. There's so many moving parts. Tyler Hall is a player, man. That I know they see if we don't have an answer to DeJean where he's going to line up. Is he going to be an outside corner or slot corner and nickel? Because here's the problem. Someone's going to have to go, either Tyler Hall or Maddox. If DeJean is only going to be a nickel corner, do you need 2 nickel corners?
No. You don't. I mean, you need your
CJ.
nickel.
By the way, CJ can do it.
I was just about to say you need your nickel, and then you need somebody who can play nickel, but probably also play something else.
Right. So you can't, as you said, I get it. You and I won't agree on the total number of corners. But you can't keep 56 players. You can't apply for special roster spots. You can't do that. You can only keep so many.
You can't be like Raj. I got a lot of good young corners. Can you give me like 3 more spots?
It's way better than last year. I mean, and Rogers, because he's all the way back as of now. No, they're not in pads. They can't get physical, but the athleticism is there. Like you don't have to worry about that. By the way, he's wearing number 34. So then safety, as you mentioned, they got an issue with safety. Garner can play it, but he's a real long shot to make the team. DeJean obviously can, but they don't want to. See, I get what Christian Parker said. You can't, as smart as DeJean is and as athletic as he is, you don't want to give him 3 different positions year one. No. You really don't want to do that.
No.
Unless in trade, if you think, like, if they think he's like, you know what, he's even smarter than we thought. Maybe we want to add stuff to his plate. Like they could do that, but long term, like most of the teams we spoke with said he's a safety. Now the Eagles they're not saying that right now.
That's correct.
About that.
The Eagles are saying right now he's an outside corner.
By the way, Greg Cosell called it. He said after he sold Malcolm Jenkins year 1, he said he will not play corner anymore. Yeah. He told me that after year 1 with the Saints. I'm like, how do you know that? Because I'm just telling you, watch the tape. He's not playing He's not playing corner anymore. He can only play safety.
Right.
Done. Now, no offense to Malcolm, and he was a great player, and he went up playing that star position. But DeJean is a better athlete. Like he's a little bit more athletic. But how much you're going to put on him? I get that. You don't want to go overboard and ask him to learn like 3 different things. I get it.
There you go. All right, so that I think we just basically talked about every single player in the secondary there, and let me just put the bow on it with this position, much like linebacker too. Pads got to come out. Then you see how fast guys run. Then you see how physical they play.
Physical, right? And by the way, Jelix Hunt, I'll look for him today. He's number 58. What number was Trent Cole? Was he 50?
58.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's way taller than Jelix is, but he's a guy that might not dress. He's just they Nolan Smith, BG. He's going to make the team, obviously. And by the way, Milton Williams could play standing up. You can do that if you need to. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So you said you wanted to talk about special teams. Let's do that in 1 second. In 1 second, first we're going to pause to hear from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal. So Tuesday is the day that they worked on the new kickoff return format, right? The double kickoff return thing.
Yes, the duel. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So I sat in, oh boy, one of the media calls that the NFL put on. No. It was at the owners' meetings. It was Bones, Jim Fossil's, Bones Fossil,
Mm-hmm.
two other special teams coaches, and they did a great demonstration for 20 minutes. Oh, Chris Rizzi, I think is Darren Rizzi. I'm sorry,
Aaron Reese, yeah.
Darren Rizzi, who's phenomenal, and another guy. And they did a demonstration. They showed the UFL or the former USFL's dual kickoff returner thing. It's really cool. And they described how there's going to be so many more kickoffs return, like it's going to go up and up and up. It's going to go. The increase is going to be significant. They're going to be bigger plays. It's going to change special teams. Bill Belichick talked about it with McAfee. It's going to change.
But
And
I
Bill's much special
thought
team.
they got rid of it because of the injuries and the head trauma. I thought they didn't want kickoff returns.
Well, look, they've reduced it, but they also want to. They know it's so bad. Very little gets returned. It's kind of like to the point. Why have it if you're not going to let guys return it?
Yeah, but
So-
under this new format, is it harder for major injuries because you're not the defense doesn't get to go downhill?
Exactly. Can't get the
Okay.
running start anymore. You have to wait. But what I remember in the demonstration was the spacing that the guy. There are no touchbacks anymore.
Right.
So the time it takes the coverage guys to get down or to get the guy. This guy's got a running start. He's got so much room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be exciting. They want to because they know we could criticize Roger Goodell all we want, but he is for the fans. I know he's for money. I get that, but I just know the way Roger thinks. Talking to people who work with him, it's like if you're gonna have kickoff, make it exciting. Get rid of it. It's just ridiculous. It's so boring. And now it's also going to help guys get jobs and keep jobs. So it's all I'm all for it. And yes, you are right, though. I should mention that they think it's going to reduce because the guys can't get the running start they used to. So you're absolutely right. You nailed it. Yep.
Just to clarify, by the way, you're saying that there are no more touchbacks where the running back can just down it. I mean, you could still kick the ball out of the end zone.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear.
Right. Yeah. And we'll actually not clarify, but we'll get the language of it. We'll actually get it for next week, and we'll because we have so much time in the off season now. The training camps are. I mean, the off season is over today for the Eagles, so we'll have plenty of time to delve on all that stuff, and we'll see if we could find a special teams coach that we know. If there's anyone out there who's retired, is Bobby April around? I'm just joking.
Oh my gosh, don't!
I'm sorry, I shouldn't bring that up.
I actually love the guy.
Nice guy.
He was great.
He just was unfortunately didn't work when he was here.
Yeah, and like he's not the guy you want to put in front of the rabid, diehard, blue collar Philadelphia fan because quoting Grapes of Wrath just isn't gonna.
And then what didn't he try the trick? Did he try the trick play?
The whole barking dog.
Yes,
with Riley Cooper. Yeah.
Man, you have a good memory. I knew who the player was, but I saw some craziness at training camp. And what the hell is he doing?
Some things you can't unsee or unforget or forget.
I mean, I could see Jim Washburn and Juan and Andy having to get involved and spending all this time in OTAs watching defense and what the hell's going on. I was like, okay, what does this mean? Oh, it wasn't very good. That's what it meant. It wasn't very good. Anyway.
Well, unlike this podcast, which has been great. I think we've shared a ton of intel and
we got more next week too.
Yeah, we'll have more as we keep going. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation.